Welcome, fellow YouTubers. I'm very glad that you've joined me today on my channel for this very special edition. This is something that is really, this topic is something that is very near and dear to my heart. This topic is not something that has been easy for me to come out and talk about, but today's topic of discussion for myself is domestic abuse and domestic violence. There's a lot of women throughout the country and throughout the world who are suffering from domestic abuse and domestic violence, and a lot of times us as women, we tend to get into situations in life that are not so easy and so simple to remove ourselves from or to get out of. Sometimes it could be relationship related, it could be family related, maybe our family is like that and we just grew up that way, but whatever the case may be, it's an issue that needs to be discussed. People need help, and people need to know where to go for help. A lot of times we end up not reaching out and having to go through such issues for years and years and years because we feel like it's not going to work. You know, sometimes we're afraid to make that phone call or afraid to, reach out to another friend or somebody that can help us in fear of somehow it's going to backfire on us or it's just not going to work. There's a lot of women out there being physically abused, mentally abused, verbally abused, and again, what you need to do is you need to take that next step and get that help. This is a process. It's a lifelong, I don't want to say lifelong, but it's a process. Sometimes we don't receive the help that we need just overnight. It can take days, weeks, months. Sometimes it can take a year just to get to, a better space in life, where we need to be in life. I'm going to share my personal story of domestic abuse and violence. And again, this is not something that's been easy for me to share or readily shared, but I'm going to go ahead and take the risk and tell you my story of what happened to me. And I was dating a man. I was a teenager, 17 years old. Okay, so I am going to be sharing my story concerning the topic of domestic abuse, and I just had to change locations real quick due to some background noises in the house and just some other things. So, continuing my story, when I was 17 years old, I was seeing an older man, and I had met him through a friend of a friend. I was driving at the time. I had my own vehicle at the time, so I would get around fairly easily. I would tend to meet like different boys and different types of people, and I met this guy through a friend of a friend. I was kind of seeing this one boy or dating him or whatever, and we went over to his friend's house to buy a bag of weed, and we went over there and I started talking to the guy, and I guess he had taken a real liking to me right away. Now mind you, I was 17 years old. This man was almost 3 times my senior at 46 going on 47, so I was underage and he was well over the age of anybody that I would normally see. But we started talking, and he was like, come on back and I'll give you some free weed. And so I liked that idea. I liked the idea of getting free things. I liked the idea of him, me being able to drink over there, me being able to do things that I normally wouldn't do at home, that my parents didn't allow me to do. So I was seeing him. I would go back over to his apartment, and we were seeing each other. We were, I was hanging out with him quite frequently. He would take me out to dinner sometimes. He would take me around to his friend's house sometimes, and we became really good friends. We became such good friends, in fact, that he had indicated that he was developing very strong feelings for me. Now, I don't know how true this is with him being so old, but to me it's perverted. To me it's wrong, perverted, and as a 47-year-old man, you should know better than to be messing with a girl that is underage. So to me the whole thing was wrong. At the time I didn't realize how wrong it was. I didn't really care. I was more carefree. I was graduating high school, and it was just a bad situation for me to be involved with to begin with. But fast forward, we had been seeing each other for a little while, and he became, I guess he had fallen in love with me. He became very attached to me, and I was, at that time in my life, I was 17 years old, graduating high school, and I just became tired of sort of the old folks' home. I just became tired of not being around people my own age. You know, he would bring me around to his friends, and all of his friends that he worked with were much older than me, and when I was around, you know, I really wouldn't say much. They would talk about things and people that I really didn't have much to do with, especially in the conversation, and I was just tired of being around much older people. I wanted to get out there. I wanted to party. I wanted to have fun with people my own age, and I worked at the Holiday Inn at the time. I had just graduated high school, or I was about to graduate high school. I worked at the Holiday Inn at the time, and I think I was 18. You know, because my birthday is in January, so I just turned 18. I was seeing him when I was 17, but I turned 18, and then that summer, when I was about to graduate, is when I had sat him down and I had talked to him, and I said, look, it's over. I'm sorry, but the way I feel is that I don't want to continue coming around anymore. I don't want to continue seeing you anymore. I want to be around people my own age, and I had basically tried to break up with him. So when I told him this, he seemed to be okay with it at the time. And this was I was on a lunch break from my job, so I had driven over on my lunch break to talk to him, and, you know, we had our conversation. That was that. I wished him farewell. I got up, left his apartment, got in my car, and proceeded to drive on back to my job. Little did I know, he had followed me in his car from his apartment to my job. So when I had went to park my car in the parking lot, I had turned off the ignition, key in the ignition, took out the key, got my things, put them in my purse, and went to go open my door. And no sooner did I open my door, he was standing right there, surprisingly, standing right there. He then proceeded to jump on me, get in my car, shove me over, close the car door, and he proceeded in punching, hitting, strangling. There was strangling going on, and it was just a very violent scene. And this went on for a few minutes. There was about a 5-minute struggle. I remember nothing but blows to the face, to the chin. I remember he actually at one point tried to he had me like this, and he had tried to stick his hand in my mouth, in my throat. I then had proceeded to bite him. He took his hand out, and there was just some more, you know, struggling, some more fighting, screaming, things of that nature, if you can imagine that type of scene. He finally did stop. He got out the car and was like, you bitch, as he was walking away back to his car, and drove off. So at this point, I was in complete shock, of course. I did have my cell phone on me at the time. I had called the ambulance. I had called the cops to make a report. So at the time, I ended up calling the police to make a report and hopefully get him arrested. I was trying to have him arrested. I mean, he had just beat me up. When the cops got there, they asked me what happened. I tried to explain to him. I had a busted lip, and I had some scratches on my face, and I ended up having like a fractured jaw because I couldn't move my jaw up and down for 2 days. It was kind of like a lockjaw. It was very painful. But the cops asked me if I had wanted to call the ambulance, and at the time I did not want to go to the hospital because I thought that everything was going to be blown out of proportion portion. I just wanted to make the report and let them handle it and be done with it. I didn't want to go to the hospital. I figured, look, I'm okay, I'm still standing, I'm okay. I didn't think that my face or anything was broken, that I needed that kind of medical attention. Nobody in my family knew that I was dating this guy. My parents didn't know that I was seeing this guy, and I just didn't want anyone to know, and I didn't want, oh, there's mosquitoes and dust out here. I didn't want anybody to find out that I was seeing this guy. It was over. I just wanted it to be over. So they made the police report. I think after that, I think they did try to find him. I don't know if he went to jail off of that, because that was... So anyways, I don't know if at that point, or if after that point, they had found him and he had went to jail. I tried to do, that was the last time I ever spoke to him. I ever went to see him. But I think about a month or so after that, I tried to do my own little investigational work. I did ride by his job. I did not see him there, but I did ask the people of his whereabouts, and they said that he had left, he had moved, he had quit that job and left town. So I think somehow he escaped any kind of arrest. But that was the last I ever spoke to him. He did try to call me a couple of months after that, and I picked up the, back then, this was in the year 1999, and I had a, I don't know if you guys remember, like a StarTAC Motorola flip phone, to where it would show, I think it did have, it showed the number that was calling you. So it would ring, you would see it, and then you'd flip open and say hello. So I knew it was him calling, but I did answer the phone and I said hello, and he tried to, it was, Cindy, wait a minute, don't hang up. And as soon as he said that, I hung up on him, and I never spoke or heard of him ever again after that incident. So anyways, he ended up, when I say he fractured my jaw, I believe it was a fracture. I don't think it was broken. By the way, not a smart move, not calling the ambulance. Something like that happens, you need to go to the hospital. But at the time, I was scared. I was afraid that people were going to find out, and that was my whole big thing. So I just kind of healed on my own. It was 2 days. God, there's some dander, pollen, and I keep itching my nose. But it was 2 days that I couldn't move my jaw much. So I had that, and then I had a busted lip inside of here. It was all red inside of here. And then I had some scratches on my face, which I said that, you know, I told everybody that my cat attacked me or whatever. I just made up some lie, some excuse. But that's my story of domestic violence. In no way am I condoning marijuana usage. In no way am I condoning drinking, underage, overage, whatever, 18, 19. In no way am I. This was at a time in my life where I was experimenting a lot with a lot of different things. I don't do drugs. I hardly ever drink. So I'm not condoning that. Domestic abuse and domestic violence. There's nothing funny about it. There's nothing cute about it. You don't have something cute going on between you and your husband or you and your mate when you're getting beat up or when you're being abused. And there's nothing sexy about it either. It's violence. It needs to stop. You need to get help. You need to put one foot in front of the other. You need to be strong and reach out for that help, because let me tell you, he's not going to succeed in what he's trying to do. And it could be either way. It's not just men beating up women. It's nowadays it's actually women beating up men too. And the men, they don't say anything, they don't do anything, and it's very sad and it's very abusive. But there needs to be a reaching out of. There needs to be help. And I mean, I don't have to tell you the helplines. I don't have to link it down below. You go on the internet, you find there's tons and tons of counseling services. There's tons and tons of helplines. Just call the cops. You know, just don't be afraid to just call the cops. Don't be afraid to call the cops and be like, look, I don't need somebody to come out here, but this is what's happening to me. What can I do? don't be afraid that they're going to come out there and arrest you, because a lot of times people are afraid that they're going to come out and they're the ones that are going to be arrested. But call the cops and ask them, can you have somebody mediate the situation, or what should I do before you send somebody out here and arrest me? So do it that way. But whatever you do, get help. After you've left the situation, or the person has left you or whatever, you need to go to counseling or some type of therapy. And let me tell you, therapy and counseling works. It may take quite a few sessions, but it works. Have somebody with a degree who can help you professionally rewire, figure out what's going on in your mind, in the back of your mind, that's driving you to maybe attract these type of situations. Why are you allowing these type of situations, and so on and so forth. But domestic abuse and violence is something that is an issue and a topic that I feel people keep quiet about, and it needs to, we need to help one another. And yeah, there needs to be a reaching out. So that's been my story. If you're in a situation of being domestically abused, please reach out. Get on that computer, get on that phone, reach out for help. It's not going to backfire. It's all for your own good. It's all for your own protection. It's all for your own safety. And that's been my story. And I hope if this touches one person's life, if it's helped only one person out there, then I've done my job. Thank you very much for listening. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.